Hey, it's Stephen A. Williams, president and founder of the creditrepairshop.com. We're going to talk about collections. People are getting hit with debt collectors, letters. It's going to ramp up now because we're, really out of this virus situation. And these debt collectors are going to start buying more and more accounts. It's just seems like it's going to be a lot more aggressive on the way that they're going to be attacking people on these collections. And uh, before we get started, I want to say thank you to everybody who watched yesterday's video about wealth building. I think that those videos are very important because you know, when I think that it's my duty to talk to you about the different ways that I've been able to change my family's life financially. Um, and it's not just about money, it also allows you to be able to focus on your health. And some of you know about my wife's situation. If we didn't have money, it would have, we could have, she could have died. I'll just put it that way. Having resources gives you a different, it opens up some doors on different things that I think that we all have in common that we want in our lives. Also, I'm going to be starting to do some Sunday lives. My wife, she's going to be helping my daughter out a little bit more at the store on Sundays. And I told her, well, I don't want to just sit at home. Football isn't on right now. And that I might want to just go into the office and do some live videos. And I was looking at how I can do the setup where I could be live answering questions. I have my big screen up and we can just kind of, get down to it for an hour on Sunday. So I'll keep you up to date on that. So let's get into it real quick. Collections, because this is what's really like. If any email that we get, like if we get 100 emails overnight and live chats and comments here on YouTube, I would say 75% deal with collections. It's going to either be with a repo collection, it's going to be a credit card collection, it's going to be some type of department store collection, it's going to be on collections that they have from debt collectors. And so first I'm going to start off with my three things that I tell everybody to do when you have a collection coming at you from a debt collector. And then we're going to get into what we can do about it, like some actions. First thing is step number one, look at the statute of limitations. What is the statute of limitations for your state on a debt? Also, what type of debt? Is it a communications type debt, like a cell phone or cable bill? Those have a 2-year federal statute of limitations. That's why they sell those off real quick, because debt collectors will take the risk on trying to collect on them. But the companies know if it's past 2 years, they can't even collect on it as the original creditor. So they just, get rid of them. And so first, check your statute of limitations for your state. If you don't know, you can look it up online or go to my website. Go to my blog, thecreditrepairshop.com, click on the blog and then type in statute, and that page will come up. In the column number 1 is going to be for loans like repo debt, personal loans, anything that you got that is not where you can pay on it and charge again like a credit card. In the 4th column is going to be credit card type debts. And it's some states will have a lower statute of limitations for a credit card debt than they will have for a regular loan, like an automobile loan or something like that. So if the debt is past the legal statute of limitations, all you have to do is send them a letter saying that this debt is past the legal statute of limitations for you to be able to collect in my state according to the laws of my state. And I'm going to give you that letter, so don't worry about that. If it's not past the legal statute of limitations to collect, and you don't have to do a debt validation or any of that. If it's past the legal statute of limitations, you do not have to do a debt validation. Now, if it's not past the legal statute of limitations to collect, you should immediately start a challenging process. And I'm not talking about to the bureaus. We're talking about when they send you that letter initially. If you don't respond to that letter right away within the 30 days, they're going to put it on your credit reports. That's why it's very important to jump on this. But even if it's already on your credit reports, this is what you need to do. You need to challenge them outright on the debt to see what they're going to come back at you with. I give you a letter that I call a cease and desist collection activities letter, and this could make them either send it back to the original creditor because they don't want to deal with you, or it could make them send you more documents to try to say, hey, we can make you pay this debt. So when you go into that verification process, that validation process with them, where you go back and forth. And don't worry about it, I'm going to give you all three of those letters. So let's not worry about that. So you send a cease and desist collections letter, which is in a way making them know that you're going to fight it. And what you want to have them do is to send that back to the original creditor. Original creditor says, hey, we're not even dealing with this. Do a 1099-C cancellation of debt. It's all done and over with. We've done that. You can go to my websites, and we've done that. The highest one that we've done it for was for $36,000 for one of our clients. But overall, the overall debt was over, I think, 160 something thousand dollars. It may have been more. It's been a while, but we were able to get all of that done in a 1099-C. But and to be clear, we didn't force the original creditor to do the 1099-C. The original creditor chose to do that off of the back and forth that was going on from first going to a debt collector, then giving back to the original creditor. That's how that happened. And there's a lot of stuff that goes into it: hardships, sending documents, letting them know where you're at. That gets that done. It's not just simply saying, hey, I don't want to pay on this debt. Also, it takes time. For that particular client, it took 4 years to get that whole account done with that one and all of the other ones that he had. It took 4 years. But you might be saying, well, it was 4 years. Well, it was over I think it was like $160,000 worth of debt. So you do the numbers. Do you have $160,000, or even if you did settlements for 25 or even 50%, do you have that to pull out of your pocket? So you can see you're either going to have time or you're going to pull it out of your pocket. It's up to you. That's totally up to you. But I'm just telling you what he ended up doing. He did not want to pay it. And so it took, I said, if you're not going to pay it, it's going to expand your time. After 4 years, that 4 years, when I look back on it, it's now been 2 years past the 4 years. And he's off and running, opened up new locations for his business also. So now let's get into dealing with the two ways that we deal with collections. You're going to have a choice. Most people choose the passive action way to deal with a collection because they don't have the money. You don't have the money. You want to keep your money. You want to see if you can get it removed. You want to see if you can get it forgiven with 1099-C. So you're going to take a passive action on dealing with the collection. What you do on a passive action is you're disputing and you're validating, and you're going back and forth with the original creditor, and you could be also going. You're mostly going back and forth with a debt collector. If you're going back and forth with the original creditor, it's usually going to be because you have disputes with some of the charges and stuff. And we've had clients where we've had that, where they've had disputes. They said, "Hey, I didn't charge that, or you didn't figure this payment right." You can do that, and you can get it all mixed up and haggled up to where they just say, "Hey, we want to cut this relationship off. We're either going to sell it, or do you want to offer us something to just settle this? The account's closed. We just both want to get into the position to move forward." That would be the passive action way to do it with an original creditor. And then if you're dealing with a debt collector, you're going to be doing that where you're validating, you're making them want to say, hey, you might have showed me 2 statements, but that doesn't add up to be all of these charges, and I dispute this amount. I need you to get me all of the information to prove all of these charges, not just what you're showing on this statement number 1 and statement number 2. I need all of it. And you're going to have to be aggressive with that action, but I call it passive, because you're not coming out of your pocket with paying money to settle those accounts right at that time. Now, on the other side, there's an aggressive action. And this is where if people say, hey, Steve, I need to buy a home. I need to get this done so I can move my family out of this rental, and we've saved some money for a down payment on a home. We need to be aggressive. And so when you have an aggressive action, is you're going to immediately ask for validation. And this is with third-party collectors, not with the original. If it's with the original, you're gonna, approach them about doing a settlement, and you can use the same process, but it's gonna be a little bit less because they don't have to do as much proving as a third-party debt collector would have to do. But let's just say for both, you want to validate, and then you want to say, okay, I got all of the details, all of the information. Let's move forward and try to move towards a settlement. Now, you have to be very careful when you're doing this, but especially if you're handling it on your own, because their eyes are gonna perk up, or they're gonna perk up. They're gonna say, you must be. I'm thinking maybe they ran their credit, and we see that a mortgage company ran their credit. So now we're going to hold out for more money because we know that they're going for a mortgage. So if you're trying to buy a home, I would suggest that you get your credit reports and don't run your credit right away if you can avoid doing it, because you're going to let that debt collector, if they're using the bureaus to, some of these smaller companies don't, but if it's one of the larger companies, they might take a look at your reports and look at what inquiries you have. And if they see that you're trying to buy a home, they're going to try to hold out to get more money on if you're trying to move towards settlement. And that's the aggressive way. Now, once you go back and forth, you figure out everything, you can get the deletion with the third-party debt collector, but they may not want to delete. They can't delete the original creditor. You're going to have to work on deleting the original creditor, but you can also submit to the original creditor that they have to show that account is positive. Let me tell you the reason why. A lot of people don't know this. Is because once they sell it, they accept that offer. On the contracts, on the affidavits that they send, that the debt collectors try to send to people, is that they always say that they bought that for value. That means that you paid in full and bought that debt for value, so you can collect on that debt. It does not matter that the original creditor took less for the money, for the debt. What matters is that they accepted payment, so that in essence is considered paid in full because they accepted it. That would be like me saying, I'm gonna sell you owe me some money. I'm gonna sell to this person for half of it, and then I'm gonna try to say, I'm still gonna come after you for the other half. They can't do that. It must be noted on there. What they usually do when we come back around is that they just decide to erase all of the information off of the report. Rarely I've seen where they'll just change it to a positive account. They'll just either try to say that they settled it for less, which would not be truly stated on your reports because they sold it for less. Or they usually end up removing it. So you can get the debt collector to remove it, and then the original creditor later, you get them to remove it on there. Now, something that I want to make you aware of, regardless if you do it a passive way or do it where you do it the aggressive way. Once you make a dispute, once you do a verification slash validation of a debt, it actually puts that on a 90-day hold for anything to be able to be done. They can't make any other moves. They're not supposed to. Now, I know some debt collectors might try to, but they're not allowed to do anything for that 90 days, even if you were to call. Even if you were to call. So say you sent out a validation of debt. If you were to call and say, okay, I'm ready to move forward, I want to settle this debt, you're going to have to attest and say that you withdraw your validation slash verification of that debt. You're going to have to make attest to that claim, to that claimed amount, so it can take it out of that so-called department and move it into the department of an account that is active, and they're able to go ahead and try to do a settlement on it. That's when you're dealing with debt collectors. When you're dealing with the original creditor, it could just be a back and forth, and then they're going to say, okay, everything is okay, let's just settle this account. But when you're dealing with debt collectors, it is part of the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act that they must put that account into a disputed phase, which is 90 days, where nothing can be done. They're actually supposed to report that on your credit reports. I would say 99% of the time they do place it on there, but it goes into a process where nothing can be done with it. If you call in, even if you try to settle on it, we've done this where we called in, try to settle on it. They say, hey, you have to first give us the release. Once the release is done, then we can talk about doing a settlement on that debt. So, all right, I'm in the video here. If you need help with your credit, please visit us at thecreditrepairshop.com. Watch the video, What Makes Us Different. If you, so you can see my 8-point validation process, my 2-phase settlement process. If you need your credit reports and scores, go to the website your3scores.com. The link is below this video. If you have debt collectors coming after you, whichever way, if you had where it's at the beginning, but when you get that 30-day letter, or you're already running through the process, you can use my 3-pack of letters. The link is below this video. Get them and utilize them, and at least get everything going so you can see what options you may have with dealing with your debt. Thank you for your time. This is Stephen A. Williams, president and founder of thecreditrepairshop.com.